Class number 3. Good afternoon, possibly good morning, maybe even good evening. We are in our book here. Oh, wait, there we go. Liberty and Justice. So we're going to finish up chapter 1 today. We read through it, and I'm going to actually repeat and go through part of it again because I want to review over it, make sure we get it. So it says, history began when God created the earth. So beginning of history starts when God created the earth. So our history as a nation is linked and is part of the history since creation. It says since the beginning of time, oh wait, remember, you have your book out, you have it open to the right page, sorry about that. So we're on page number 4, right? And we're gonna start right here, where it says history, right there. Follow along, Daniela, make sure you're following along. History began when God created the earth. Since the beginning of time, God has worked in the lives of men. So he created man, and now he works in the lives of men. History is the record of God working in the lives of men and nations. So remember, we talked about history. I'm in front of the board now, but, there's my marker. As we love to say, history. Is it's his story, right? It's God's story. It's his story about his creation, about his redemption, about his love. The story of Christ, remember on our timeline, Jesus being the focal point of history. Let's go mobile for a second here. All right, we're going mobile because we're going to go up here. Our timeline, remember this good guy? So this is actually my timeline. So let me find my finger. All right, see if I can do this. We go along, go along, go along, go along. Oh, uh-oh. What's going on? Oh, it's focusing on my finger. I didn't want it to do that, but okay, we'll turn around and do this. Oh, flip video. You can hear me, but you just can't see me. So, Jesus right there. He is the focal point of history. Now, how do I go back? Focal point of history. It's his story. He's the main character. He's the writer, the creator. He does it all. And that's what our lives are about. Our lives are focused on Jesus, on God. And history shows that. History shows repeatedly who God is, how he works, and how he works in the lives of not only us as individuals, but whole groups of people, as in nations. So what nation are we in? Any ideas, Samuel? What nation are we in? That's right, the United States. All right, so says how God has worked in the lives of men. God also works in each nation. History is the record of God working in the lives of men and nations. Let's take a moment and look at one of these words. Let's look at worked. We're going to look at a bit of grammar real quick. So what is worked? We have nouns. Nouns, remember, nouns were persons, places, things, or ideas. Now we're looking at verbs. Verbs are words that show action, right? Or state of being. So, worked. Does that show action when you work? Does it? Jasmine, does it show action when you work? Yes, it does. It shows action. So, God is working. He's doing something. So, we say history is a record of God working. He's doing something in the lives. So, working is a verb. Lives of men and nations. And then it says, studying history will teach us why we have liberty in America. If you want to know why, look at history. The cause, remember? To know how we got here, we've got to look at history to understand the cause and what the effect is. We've had causes that give good or righteous effects, and we've had causes that have produced evil effects or bad effects. And so we always want to look at the cause and the effect. Why did things happen? So that way we can either repeat certain things to bring good effects or righteous or godly effects, and we want to avoid things that will cause evil or unrighteous effects. It says, studying history will teach us why we have liberty in America. So we got to know our history. If you don't know your history, you don't know where you came from, you don't know where you're going. Guaranteed. It will teach us that each person in America has a responsibility for his nation. You can't just depend upon your leaders. Yes, do you elect your leaders? Yes, thankfully, we elect our leaders. But it is also, even to a greater extent, it's our responsibility to care for our nation. Just like we care for our family, we care for our city, it's our responsibility. It's up to the individual. Studying history will also teach us how other nations can have the same liberty we have in the United States. So, if you want to know how to reproduce what we've done, look at our history. And not just what our leaders did. Look at what the individuals did. How did they live their lives? What was George Washington like? What was Ben Franklin like? What was Samuel Adams like? All of these men who helped to shape our nation, what were they like as individuals? Because that's the big question, is what are they like as individuals? And that will help to show you how our nation became what it is and how it is that they wrote these documents that have survived for over 1876, 1976, almost 250 years. So that is the end of chapter 1. So we're going to do some fun stuff, right? So you got a page for history. So right now, I want you to take out this page, right? Actually, I'm going to show you the blank one. See? History, right? It says Class 3, History 6. So, proclaiming liberty throughout the land. And it asks us, what does history teach us? So again, let's look at the text, right? So first of all, it says history began when God created the earth. So, that's maybe a good one. Let's erase here. And erase. What will history teach us? So, according to the reading, history began when God created the earth. So history can teach us God working in the earth. So for number 1, let's do that one. Let's say history teaches us how God works in the earth. Uh-oh, I didn't write very well. So history teaches us how God works in the earth. If you can't see it yet, or you didn't write it down yet, that's okay. I'll zoom in later, and you'll be able to. All right, so let's keep reading. It says, since the beginning of time, God worked in the lives of men. God also works in the lives of the nation. History is the record of God working in the lives of men and nations. So, history teaches us how God works on the earth, or in the lives of men and nations. Let's keep going. Studying history will teach us why we... Studying history, let's see, what will history teach us? History will also teach us why we have liberty in America. Number 2. History will teach us why we have liberty in America. This is very, very, very important. We've got to understand why we have liberty in America to be able to maintain and hold on to that liberty. Let's keep reading. It says, studying history will also teach us how other nations can have the same liberty. So it's not just us. The Lord used the United States to show the world how to have liberty, but it's not just us who can have liberty. Anybody can. Any nation can. But they've got to study and understand how. There's certain things that you have to have. So the next one, studying history, will also teach us how other nations can have the same liberty. All right. All right. Studying history can show us how other nations can have liberty like us. So let's take a look at these. So if you're writing these down, maybe pause the screen or pause your video and you can write them down, but I'm going to keep going. Something else I want to do today is, let's see here, we're actually going to look at some songs that you can look up on yourself, look them up on YouTube, and they're historical songs of our nation. So, believe y'all got all of this? I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna erase it. So these songs are going to be different because they were written at the time of the founding of our nation. So if they sound different, it's okay. You don't have to like exactly how they sound, but I want you to listen to the words. What are they saying? What are they expressing? So we're going to look at My Country 'Tis of Thee. So I want you to look that song up and listen to it. And then there is America the Beautiful. And then lastly, there's another one that's called Faith of Our Fathers. So check these out and look them up. So that's history for today. If you need anything, make sure you call, send an email, text, something like that. Let me know if you need help. But I'll move out of the way. Write those down, look them up, and see what they say. And until next time, we'll see you later.